So we run about 6,500 calls a year at this
Holy
moment.
cow.
Yeah. And we have 42 active firemen plus 3 administration staff.
Wow.
So 6,500 calls between 3 shifts of
Yeah.
14 to 15 people is a lot.
Welcome back to the Talk Midland podcast. My name is Logan Richetti with Modern Realty. Today I have my new buddy Garrett Pochert with the Midland Fire Department.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about the Midland Firefighters Youth
Foundation.
All right, got it. Midland Firefighters Youth Foundation. Almost got it all the way.
It's a mouthful.
What is the Midland Firefighters Youth Foundation?
So we are an organization. We actually are kind of an offshoot of our union, our firefighters union. And we have a board member elected from 5 members from our union that we run this youth foundation. What we do is we raise money and we give it to youth programs throughout the area. So originally it started just for Midland County, but we've gotten big enough that we're starting to kind of branch into Bay County and Saginaw County and a little bit over towards Mount Pleasant areas. We've been giving money to too.
All right, so it's a nonprofit organization that raises funds from the community and then deploys those funds into nonprofit events like the one that's coming up.
Yes.
What do we have coming up?
So this is actually our big fundraiser for the year. We our charity ball is, well, it's our only fundraiser for the year. We have a silent auction. We take monetary sponsorships. We have it's just a fun night. It's an open bar. It's silent auction, dancing, everything, dinner. Yeah, everyone dresses up.
Is it black tie?
It's not black tie, but you're encouraged to dress up. So I usually wear a suit and tie, but not quite black, usually navy.
All right, so when is this? What day?
February 8th.
What time?
Doors open at 5 p.m.
Okay, so February 8th, 5 o'clock p.m. Where is it?
It is going to be at the Holiday Inn.
Okay, cool. And then to get tickets to this thing, where do you go?
You can either go to our website, midlandfireyouth.com, or you can reach out to one of the 5 board members. We are all selling tickets. We have physical copies.
All right, and then you go there, so you get dressed up. It's not black tie, but you do something fancy.
Yeah.
You bring a date, and is it just for adults or kids too, or what kind of event is it?
It's for adults.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. So, what is it, a Friday night?
It's a Saturday.
Okay, so Saturday, 5 o'clock, February 8th, 2025, Midland Firefighters Ball. It's a charity event to raise money for the Midland Firefighters Youth Foundation.
Right.
And this money will be used to do things like what? What are some of the big initiatives that the organization manages?
So a lot of the stuff we've been doing is we don't really have organizations we manage, but what we always do is people write requests to us in the area. So we'll get requests for, there's a school out by the nature center. They usually do a color run. They've always requested funds for us from their PTO to do this. So we usually give money to that. We've given money to the robotics teams in the area, a couple of equestrian teams this year.
Sweet. So sponsorships.
Yes, so we sponsor a lot of stuff. We've even given money we sponsored a couple things for the Miracle Field over the years when they were building that. But we've gotten to the point that we're kind of getting bigger, and we're dealing with a little more money, but we're also getting bigger requests. So our goal is to try and raise more to kind of fill bigger requests, and we've been getting a higher volume of requests over the last few months.
What are some recent requests you've been getting that you want to fund?
That we want to fund?
Yeah.
We've had some sports teams requests, like sponsor sports teams or sponsor trips for sports teams to go to tournaments, to travel. We just had one for a 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. for a student that reached out to us and requested for that. Usually about this time of year, we're not getting too many requests, but as springtime rolls around and sports get rolling and more academic stuff comes up, we've given to that. What else have we done?
So a lot of it sounds like it's related around youth sports and youth educational opportunities.
Yeah.
In and around the Midland community, but it sounds like we're branching out a little bit too.
Yeah, we're getting requests from a little farther away. We also have a couple scholarship programs for, they were started by members who pass family members. So we have scholarships that relate to education and fire or EMS.
So if somebody wants to learn how to become an EMS and they want to go to some kind of training or schooling for that, they can apply to get a grant money, get some scholarship money to help them out.
Yep.
if somebody wants to apply to get a grant or to ask for a sponsorship, where do they go?
They go to They can go to our website, or if you know one of us, or even see firemen out in the community, because all our union members are technically a member of
The foundation.
the foundation. Yes,
What is the website?
MidlandFireYouth.com.
MidlandFireYouth.com.
Actually, I think it's .org.
Okay, it's either MidlandFireYouth.com or .org.
I believe it's .org.
Yeah, try both until you find it, and then you can go in there and you can apply to get a grant or get a sponsorship or ask for some funds for some other specific purpose. But that all happens because of the ball. So everybody's got to go to the ball. They got to buy tickets. They got to vote on the. They got to bid on the silent auctions, and they got to have a great time. A good excuse to get out there and have a date.
Yes.
And this is the big fundraiser for the year. How long have you been on the board?
I've been on the board 5 years.
And how long have you been a firefighter?
For the city of Midland, I've been a firefighter for 5 years.
What's it like to be a firefighter for the city of Midland?
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice city to work in. It's a lot of. There's nothing too crazy usually going on. So
not a lot of scrapers that you gotta manage.
No.
But right now, obviously, there's a fire going on in California, so it's kind of top of mind. Everybody is appreciating firefighters right now and the challenges that they have with their jobs. But let's just go back a little bit. I'm just curious. A couple questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
When you decided to become a firefighter, what was the first thing that you did, and how did your process kind of start?
Well, it's different for everybody. So a lot of school, Lansing Community College and Lake Superior State both run a program, and Oakland runs a program that you can go to, and there's a little shorter. I actually got onto Auburn-Williams Fire Department, which is a adjoining township, and they sponsored me to go through Fire Academy and sent me to get my EMT license. And from there, on my own, I went and got my paramedic license. So I actually worked for the hospital as a paramedic for roughly a year before I came over to the city of Midland.
So most people that become firefighters, they go through a firefighter course and an EMS course?
At least EMT level,
EMT?
usually, yeah.
Okay, so that's the same as driving an ambulance? Or so close?
You work on an ambulance, yeah.
Okay, got it.
They don't so much like being called ambulance drivers.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, you're okay.
My bad. I'm learning here. We're all learning together. So this is I think the set of skills that a firefighter has are very important for everyday life. I admire the skills that you have, and I want to have more skills. I am EMS certified.
Okay.
But I still don't know how comfortable I would feel in an emergency scenario with a life on the line in terms of doing CPR and things like that. So how highly trained are firefighters in Midland, and how often do you practice that kind of stuff?
Well, it's repetition. So we run about 6,500 calls a year at this
Holy
moment.
cow.
Yeah. And we have 42 active firemen plus 3 administration staff.
Wow.
So 6,500 calls between 3 shifts of 14 to 15 people is a lot.
Yeah. 500 calls a month.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it's repetition.
Yeah.
So you get more used to it as you go. Obviously, when you first start out, you're
Nervous.
probably a little nervous. Yeah, I was nervous.
So how does that work when you're new? You get on a call, and obviously all your buddies that are in the truck with you, they're more experienced. So obviously, if there's a life or death thing, they're going to probably step up and handle it first when you're new, right? Or do they throw you in the mix and say, "Hey, it's your turn, kid"?
They get you involved in the mix, but they don't let you fail. That's not what we want.
Yeah.
For especially our new guys, we don't want them to fail. We want them to be comfortable in what we're doing.
Of course. All right, talk me through the normal shift at a firehouse.
Normal shift at a firehouse.
You're sitting around playing cards. You guys doing it? You guys doing like workouts, or what are you doing?
So it varies from day to day. What did I work? I worked yesterday, so weekend days are usually a little easier, but most weekdays, like I work tomorrow, so we have a big initiative going on actually through the whole state that's funded by the state fire marshal's office, where we go around and install smoke detectors for free in homes.
Oh.
So I believe we have a couple of those tomorrow.
How do you get set up for that if you're a homeowner?
You reach out to the city of Midland. You call the fire department, whatever the number that's just on Google, you can find it. Call. Julie will answer the phone. She's very wonderful. And she'll get you set up for a time and a date. We always do them on Tuesdays. But as long as you own your home, we will come out and we will install fire smoke detectors.
All right, so if you are a homeowner in Midland, you can call the Midland Fire Department. You can ask them to install fire alarm systems for you. Do you have to buy them, or do you guys
Nope,
bring
they
them?
are free. They are funded by the state of the state of Michigan. So it's a free program. We bring them with us and we put them in.
Right on, right on. That's pretty wild. But you have to be a homeowner, can't be a landlord.
No, can't be a landlord.
Those pesky landlords got to pay for their own.
Right.
Okay, now another thing that you guys do is you do business evaluations or checks, or what do you call those?
Fire inspections.
Fire inspections. Yes. Every year you guys just roll right in.
Yep.
Unannounced.
We have a certain number every year.
Yep. And then what are you doing when you're doing a fire inspection? What things are you checking for?
We're checking for exit lights, make sure they're working. We're checking fire extinguishers, making sure they're within hydrostatic testing date, just to make sure they've been tested. They have to be tested every year.
Gotcha.
Wrong use of extension cords. So
fire hazards.
yes,
You're
fire hazards.
you're looking for potential fire hazards to try to offset those before they cause a problem.
Yeah, making sure your furnaces don't have stuff stacked up right in front of them.
Yep.
About 4 feet in any direction from a furnace is what they suggest.
What is a common cause of a fire in the city of Midland?
Common cause of a fire. The city's pretty safe for fires, so most departments probably do about 80% medical. But if we do have a fire, a lot of times it's usually electrical.
See, that's interesting. I think a lot of people don't know that. So 80% of your calls are medical related calls where,
And that's most fire departments.
yeah. I was driving over here and I saw a fire truck and an ambulance behind it racing around, and I've made a couple calls. I've been involved in a couple calls myself for tenants and whatever. And it's almost always a fire truck that shows up, and sometimes people wonder why that is, but that's because everybody on there like you knows how to handle these emergency medical situations.
Yeah, and when those medicals come out, so we have a station down here downtown, right on Townsend, the one over on Haley and Washington, and the one right on Saginaw, right across from Garber. We're more spread out, whereas EMS responds from the hospital.
Oh,
Yeah,
takes them longer to get to the other side of town.
Yes.
I never thought of that.
Yep. So that's usually why we're there first.
So Midland Fire Department has 3 stations, and they're always stocked with how many guys at a time and gals?
So Station 2 downtown has 3 always. Station 3, if we have enough on duty that day, we'll have 4. And Station 1 has generally 3 to 4 firemen plus a lieutenant, the battalion chief, who's the station manager, and a driver.
Basically enough to run one truck.
Yep, at each one. We have 2 trucks that run out of Station 1. There's a smaller one. It kind of looks like an ambulance, but it's not an ambulance.
So we have a fleet of trucks that we manage, and the crews and the staff that rotate 24-hour shifts.
Yes.
So you're up there when you're on staff, when you're checked in, you're there all night.
Yep.
So you guys have beds there or some kind of places to relax?
Yep, we all have our own beds. Generally from normal business hours, we're busy. We're training, we're doing inspections, or we're doing these smoke alarm installs. Those are a big one right now, like I said earlier. And after 5 o'clock, we eat dinner. So we always eat dinner together. It's actually kind of nice.
That's cool.
And after that, it's kind of our time to do our own thing. But so people work out, or they'll work out during the day. We do have workout equipment because you do have to stay in somewhat of shape.
You got one of those poles you slide down? Is that a real thing?
No.
No pole?
There's some departments that have those, but oddly enough, fun fact, any new builds don't have those in them anymore because of insurance.
Sure.
Too many people are breaking their ankles.
Jeez. Yeah, I guess that's old school. That's kind of an old school deal.
Yeah, all our stations are 1 floor.
Well, a couple of months ago, there was a big fire out east of town in the township. I don't know if you remember that one, if you were working that day, but there was a fire in the cornfields.
Yep.
So how does it work with adjacent departments and jurisdictions? Do you guys call each other for help or what?
Yes.
Yeah.
So some departments we have 8 agreements with. So Auburn Williams is one that we have one with, and that's who had that fire. So we did have crews go out to help with that.
Did you go?
No, I was not on that day.
So if there's a major emergency and you're not on, do they call you in or try to get to you?
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, Midland Compounding had a fire.
Okay.
They're over on James Savage. They're a bigger business with the warehouses, and they had a warehouse fire, and it was right at shift change. So they had 2 shifts already there, but they called everybody else in. Or for the flood, we were here. Everybody was back for that when we had the 2020 flood.
So there are some scenarios, emergency scenarios, when all hands come on deck.
Yes.
And you get to work and you help out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's wild. And then, Genji, the restaurant Genji?
I was working that night.
You were?
I
So
was.
did you fight that fire, or were you
I was
involved in that?
Yeah, I was there. It was very cold.
Take us through that night. It's kind of a wild. I love that place. I used to eat there all the time.
Yeah. So we got called out. Fire was it was different. Like they're always different, but this one was a little harder to figure out. But because there wasn't smoke in there, but it had been renovated so many times that the fire was just kind of hidden. And
do we know what the cause of that was?
I think the fire marshal released that it was from crews in their painting. Sometimes their varnish rags will just kind of combust if they're not in the right spot.
Jeez.
Yep.
From what?
They just
on their own?
Yeah.
There's gotta be some kind of spark or something.
They off gas a lot, or certain things off gas a lot.
Wow. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
They're in there painting, doing a renovation, and some kind of varnish on some kind of rag.
Yeah, I believe that's what he said it was, but
who knows?
I might have to. I'll ask him for you.
All right, so you get this call. You're at the station playing ping pong, hanging out, whatever, getting ready to go. But it's just an average day or average night.
I think most of us were in bed. That came in about 11 o'clock at night.
Okay, so you're in there just either sleeping or flipping through Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the alarm rings.
Yes.
They go real, 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 real. So and it's usually not a joke or is it oftentimes a training mission, or how often does that bell ring and it's the real deal? And is there a separate ring for the real deal?
Yeah. So we have our tones have changed over the years, but we have different tones for things. So if it's a fire tone, we know that it's a fire tone. That one, because there's no one on premises to confirm, it was an automatic fire alarm, because the alarm system did pick it up.
Okay, so wait a minute. So then you guys get the alarm system automatic notification.
Yep.
So that could be anything like the wind starting.
It could be dust in a.
Yeah.
We get a lot of times where you'll have dust or smoke detectors in a ventilation system. They'll get dust will trigger them. Sometimes they're very sensitive.
That's interesting. So you don't always know when you're getting out of bed at 11 whether you're heading to a major fire or some false alarm.
No.
How do you stay sharp when you don't know?
Practice.
Yeah. You take it real seriously every time. You try to.
We try to do everything the same every time.
Gotcha.
That way it's repetition always. So that way you're prepared and you're just doing everything the same.
All right. Bell rings. It's go time. You get out of bed. You jam right into your pants. Is that the first, like boots into the pants kind of thing? What do you do first?
So our boots and pants are usually your pants are over your boots. You just step in your boots, pull up we call them bunker pants.
Okay.
Pull those up. Hood, because we have a hood that goes on besides our coat, and then you put your coat on. You have your radio, make sure that's where it needs to be.
Okay. So that's got to be charged and ready to go.
Yep.
You obviously got a helmet.
Yep. You can't really drive with that though. So
you don't drive with that.
No, you put that on when you get there.
So is that in the truck then?
Yep. Okay. All our gear is right next to either in the truck or right next to the truck.
Okay. What other gear do you have to grab when you're on your way? Is there anything else you got to grab, or everything else is?
We got our pack in the truck, so as you're on your way there, you're putting your pack on.
What's in your pack?
It's an air pack.
What does that look like? What does it have?
Kind of looks like a scuba tank.
Okay.
So we have a mask. It's called an SCBA. It's one off of scuba.
Okay.
But it's a self-contained breathing apparatus.
So that's in case you got to go in there.
Yep.
That allows you to breathe internally when there's.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's basically a scuba tank for being out of water.
Have you ever been in a fire scenario where you've had to wear that?
Oh yeah.
And use it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We try to make sure we use them. There's a lot of stuff in modern day furniture that is very carcinogenic as it burns.
Jeez.
Yeah. A lot of plastics and stuff. So as they burn, they off gas a lot of carcinogens.
And what's a carcinogen? That's something that's flammable?
It can cause cancer.
Or it can cause cancer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be breathing that stuff.
No, and it keeps you from breathing in hot air too.
All right, that can be scary.
Yeah.
You ever had to kind of roll through a door where you see the fire on the other side of the door?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like?
I mean, we're more used to it, so
adrenaline pumps a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. You guys communicating a lot?
Yeah. So
who's in charge?
Usually the lieutenant on the truck is in charge of his crew, and then we have our battalion chief who's outside, but he's kind of guiding everything from outside, making sure resources are managed correctly, and he has a different perspective, so he can kind of tell us, oh, you should try going here, or someone go in the back door. Well, these guys go in the front door, see if you can get it from both sides.
Gotcha. All right, so obviously one of the first things that you're doing on the way to a fire emergency, somebody I assume is Googling or using some kind of map to locate the nearest water hydrant.
We have iPads in the trucks
Yeah.
that the lieutenant can see. Obviously, you don't want the driver to see it. Have to look at it because
Driving.
you want them to watch what they're doing. And so the lieutenant can see this map, and it gives us all the hydrant locations.
Yeah. So lieutenant's driving shotgun usually.
Yep. He's always shotgun.
Lieutenant's shotgun. He's checking for the location of the nearest hydrant.
Mm-hmm.
Some operators are in the back seat, 2 to 3 guys.
The firemen are in the back seat. So if I'm in the back seat, I'm usually sitting back there staring at a wall until we get there. Because there's not much else to look at, or at my window to the side. But
Not much to do other than wait to get your physical location where you need to be.
You kind of get ready and think about what you need to grab when you get off the truck. If I'm grabbing a hand line, or what tool might I need.
What's a hand line?
That's the lines we use to fight fire. So
That's a hose?
yeah,
Yeah.
hose with a nozzle. So
Okay.
you think about which one you want to grab, because certain ones we have a few that are different lengths, and some don't reach quite as far. So
Are you guys making plans like, hey, Alpha, you're doing this, Bravo, you're doing that, Charlie, you got this? Or is it just whoever gets out first, or is there some kind of procedure?
first due is whose area it's in. So I'm usually out of Station 1. So if it's over in that area over by Haley and Washington, if there was a fire over there, like Genji's, that truck would be first on, and they would be stretching a line, whereas the next truck in would be hooking a hydrant and getting us water to the truck.
Oh, okay. So there's different teams.
Yep. So we all have our system
Yeah.
on how we function.
So you guys do a lot of cross training because you're all in the same group, right? You're just stationed differently?
Yep.
Is that right?
So we're one shift. So we do a lot of training and stuff together. We just are in different buildings sometimes.
And that Genji fire, did all 3 stations respond, or does
Yes. All three stations.
do?
Oh yeah.
What about a backup fire across town somewhere else? Is there some kind of a reserve held back?
Any structure fire? No, we all go.
All hands on deck because that's just such a high priority.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we usually have minimum 12 to work in a structure fire on shift every day, and you need 12. You need all 12.
I bet. So one or two, the first truck that gets there, that's the closest, they're setting up, and then the second truck that gets there helps connect the water.
They help connect the water, and then they go in and they start doing other stuff in there.
yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, like if it's an attic, they'll go in and start ripping ceiling and making sure other parts of the house aren't on fire, or checking for extension of the fire to other parts of the home.
So there's a lieutenant for each station?
Yep. And they run that station.
Okay. So whoever's proximity the fire is in, that lieutenant is kind of boots on the ground in charge. There's a battalion commander above all 3 of them that call all the shots, like the general or the whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But
easiest way to describe it is he's the regional manager, and then the lieutenant is the manager.
store
of
manager
that.
kind of thing. All right. Now you're talking my language a little
Okay,
bit
yeah,
closer.
yeah.
All right. I got it.
That's the easiest way to describe it.
I got it. I'm trying to think logistically how in an an emergency scenario when everything's chaos, who's in control and who's how jurisdictions are being managed and things like that. It's probably hard, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
All right, so medical calls.
Yes.
That's 80% of your job.
Right.
You get a call. I was at the event the other day, Sing Noel at the Center for the Arts, and there was an older gentleman there that fell and broke his hip. So we're all holding his hip up, waiting for EMS to show up. You get that call. Obviously, you zip over there, and you see an old 90-year-old man on the ground with a broken hip, and he can't move. Obviously, I'm thinking first thing you're doing is you're trying to figure out what's going on. You're asking questions, and then you're trying to stabilize.
Yeah.
And then you try to move him into the hospital. What's the SOP for, what's step 1 in a scenario like that?
Well, first we would want to establish what happened, how he fell, make sure he wasn't unconscious before he fell. Generally, older people might be on blood thinners. You want to check that one out, especially if they hit their head, because that can cause other problems. But for a broken hip, you would just want to stabilize it, wait for the cot to get there from EMS with their cot. You only want to move them once. That's really the goal. Because
So you wait until EMS gets there.
before you move them. Yeah.
Move.
Yeah, especially something like that. You don't want to move them more than once. They're going to be in a lot of pain when you move them. And because we don't carry, we carry some very basic medications, but the paramedics, they have the like painkillers and stuff like that to help with pain management.
Yeah.
And they can generally give that to them before you move them.
Yeah.
To kind of help that out. But yeah, a lot of stuff like that. You don't want to move more than once, because that's going to cause them a great deal of pain.
What about car accidents? I witnessed a car accident, fatal one actually,
Okay.
a couple of years ago. It's kind of wild, and It was a car hit a motorcycle, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was sad. But I watched the collision, and then I saw the driver on the ground, and you could tell he was dying, which was a bummer. But I had no idea what to do, whether to touch, whether to help, whether not to help. Nobody was really doing much to help. Everybody calls the police and calls the fire and waits for them to do what they do. But as a civilian in a scenario like that, what should you be doing?
What should you be doing? I mean, there are good Samaritan laws, so if there's something reasonably you think you can do to help, then I would suggest do it. It's a tough one,
Yeah.
especially if you're not trained for something like that. You're not always sure what to do.
Right.
But there are ways to help, or sometimes just having extra hands or things like that to help can make a difference. Generally, they're pretty quick, especially for things like that.
Yeah, they were there in a minute.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. We're fast.
Yeah.
We try to be fast.
It's a scary thing to pull up on a fatal car accident.
Yeah.
You ever done that?
Yes.
What goes through your mind when you're dealing with something like that?
It's different for people in my position, I guess. It's our job. It's things we're more used to. Generally, my goal is to evaluate what's going on and evaluate the patient as best I can with what I have, and kind of just figure out where to go from there. If it is a fatal, then unfortunately there's not a lot you can do in that situation.
Mm-hmm. I guess in that scenario, you're probably setting up, roadblocks, and you're trying to secure the scene for investigations after the fact.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed some elements of that going on at the time. I watched it for a while, and certainly makes a lot of sense. I got to see who was at fault and what happened and da-da-da-da.
Yeah, a lot of our goal though is obviously to block the scene. That is partially for our safety and safety for others on the scene too.
Sure.
So we use the fire trick to kind of block the scene in that regard.
All right, so just to conclude here, we're talking about the Midland Firefighters Ball.
Yes.
Saturday, February 8th.
Yes.
5:00 p.m. It's not black tie, but you better look good.
Yes.
And no kids Saturday night.
Right.
Tickets can be purchased by going to the website.
Yes.
Which is, again,
MidlandFirefighterYouth.org.
MidlandFirefighterYouth.org. What else is going on with the ball?
So actually, we have a rate set up with the hotel that there's a discount on rooms if you get them or reserve a room in time or early enough. They'll give you a discount on rooms. That way you can have fun and stay.
Okay, so if you're getting a little crazy at the ball and you don't want to drive home, they got blocks of rooms at the Holiday Inn there that you can get a discount by letting them know that you're going to the ball, and you'll get a discount on the room, so you can stay there and have a good time, not have to drive home.
Yes, I believe it's about 10% off, so nothing crazy, but it's still a decent deal.
Rock and roll.
So,
all right, Garrett, thank you for being on the Talk Midland podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.